Welcome to Pulse Podcast, Knowing God's Heartbeat, where we talk about questions and concerns, anything about life and faith. My name is Jeff Tao, and I'm a young adults coordinator at the Gathering Church. And today we're going to talk about marriage. And who better to speak about marriage than our lovely friends who are married, Caleb and Stephanie Kant. And they serve at Evangel together with Caleb as the associate pastor. Maybe you guys can, give a little spiel about yourselves, or how long have you guys been married?
I shouldn't answer this because I'll probably get it wrong.
Almost 9 years.
Wow, 9 years.
Almost,
Dang.
yes.
Yeah, almost.
It's crazy. And they have kids too, two very lovely children. How long have you guys had children?
Well, Henry's 3.
Yeah. So 3.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it can't be any more or less than that. Yeah. Okay, that's cool. Usually Justin does this. I'm usually not the the one.
The intro man?
Yeah, exactly. So I always have to kind of catch up. But what pushed you guys to get married?
That's a good question. Push is such an interesting term.
Yeah, we were talking about it. We're like, pushed us to get married.
Yeah, is it like someone's like forcing us or anything? I think partly it's just like more of a natural attraction to each other, which found its roots and and grew into something that was beautiful and great, focused on love and our relationship with one another and relationship with God. I think that was one thing that was really neat.
Yeah, and then also to just to get married so that we would be like partners in life, and that we could do life together and be able to serve God together as one.
So before you guys were married 9 years ago, how long did you date and then get married?
How long? not 10. We were engaged for 10 months. Is that right?
No, that's not right.
We
started dating in April of 2009, and then we got engaged February 2010. So that's, 10 months?
10 months.
10 months.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
What do you think?
February, March, April. Yeah.
Yeah, 10
I do
months.
the math in my head. That's
And then we
10
got
months.
married in October. So.
Yeah. So 10 months dating,
Yeah.
and then half a year engagement.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. How old were you then when you started dating?
Oh, I don't even want to answer this question.
Why? I think I was
Because of how young she was.
I think I was 18.
And I was
Okay.
And I was 22.
That's
Hey,
not
that's
weird.
still young,
That's not
too.
weird.
That's
Yeah.
not. I know.
Okay, that's pretty cool. That natural attraction you talked about. But then I guess you kind of go into, you kind of have more of this attraction stage, or you're having you enjoy your time together. Yeah, you love each other, but what kind of evolved that into marriage over the course of 10 months?
Yeah. Like I was saying, it's like that natural.
Speaking to the mic.
Oh yeah. A big part of it was sort of that natural attraction, but then it rooted itself, not just in love, not just in each other, not just emotionally or physically, but spiritually too. It's funny. The first 4 months we were dating, we only saw each other for like one of those months because she was in Haiti for a month, I was gone, and then she went on vacation. And really, what rooted that wasn't sort of just we were together, but not together physically. So that really helped us grow, both spiritually and emotionally.
Wow.
Yeah, without like a distraction of physical temptations.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. And what attracted me most to Caleb was he was a youth leader at the time. And so like his heart for God and his heart for serving, that was probably one of the first things that attracted me to him. And so I think, again, like what to push us to get married, I guess, would be to be good servers together in life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that's cool that you talk about how initially you were attracted to how each of you were serving, or that. So would you say you guys were like kind of further along Christians, like you've already been rooted in faith, and it was kind of like at the forefront of your hearts and when you guys started dating? And
Yeah, did you guys have that like mentality of like I'm gonna date this person and like, oh, I'm gonna marry this person too?
I would say, yeah. Like, I grew up in a Christian family, and so I grew up with Christian values and learning about the Bible and learning about marriage and what that was, like as a man and woman coming together. So, yeah, I would say that. I wouldn't say I was mature in my faith, but I would say that my heart was eager to learn about God and to serve Him. And so, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think like initially for me, you know, my reason's opposite. I was like, oh, she's really cute.
I thought you were cute too.
I thought Caleb was as well.
And you know, I think in any dating situation, a big part of it is that initial just get to know each other kind of thing. Like Steph and I really never talked before we started dating. We weren't friends or anything because we were just in two different circles. But it was more as we continued to talk, as we continued to communicate. For me, I really just saw her heart for God, and that's one thing that drew me to her. And really, I think was a connection that really attracted me to her in that way. But that wasn't until after we started dating. So it just, like I said, it's like just rooted in that and just started growing, which is kind of neat.
Yeah, so I guess our intention was like when we started dating, well, at least for me, I think for you too, was like, can this become a marriage? You know what I mean? It wasn't just like, I'm going to date because I want to date. You know what I mean? Yeah, and we were a bit older, well, like 18 and 22, but like not, like
I was older.
I was out of high school and out of college. And so like it was like that mindset that I'm going to date for the purpose of finding a husband. Yeah.
Cool.
I just find that really cool because 22 and 18, that seems really young in our culture. So I don't know, especially my upbringing. Like my dad said I couldn't date till I'm 25, you know. But yeah, that you guys were able to think about marriage at such a young age and be rooted in Christ throughout all that. But yeah.
Well, should we go along with the thing?
Yeah,
So, I guess, yeah. So here's I guess, next question. What are your guys' thoughts on marriage? And specifically, what are your thoughts on Christian marriage?
If you would have asked me what my thoughts of marriage were at the beginning of our marriage, I probably would have answered something like it's a covenant. It's a commitment between two people to love each other through the hard times or through our own sins. It's choosing to love each other on days that are just regular and mundane, but to be committed to each other 100%. But now going through a few years of marriage and just being where I am personally with my faith, I probably would still say all those things because they're very true, and I believe that they're all important. But my perspective has changed recently, like really recently, that our marriage can be a vessel where we can glorify God and to point others to Christ. And it's more than just a commitment to Caleb. It's a commitment to God. And obedience to Christ, to serve with humility and to show self-sacrificing love to Caleb, even when it's hard or goes against my nature, and to forgive Caleb just as Christ forgave me. So I think that's what I would say a marriage is. Most importantly, it's to glorify God. And I don't think if you would have even asked me that last year, I don't think I would have even thought of that, that a marriage can be used as a witness to point people to God. And to show that beautiful picture of how Jesus came and died for us. But yeah, just recently, I guess, we both kind of had a switch in our mindset on how marriage can be. It's like a beautiful picture of what Christ is to God, the bride, the church is to God. So does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, it does. What kind of, like, maybe, what, I guess, helped you form that mentality? Or
well, we started reading the You, Me, and Forever book.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's just like, Francis Chan is just talking about scripture. I don't know why we didn't.
I think it's because culturally too, it's like when you think of marriage, the big thing is just like it's all about the other person, right? It's about the spouse. So when you're getting married, it's a huge commitment to the other person. And there's only a picture of two presented a lot with marriage, even in both secular and Christian circles. It's all about the other person. And it's like, oh, I'm making a huge commitment to my significant other. And so that's sort of the focus. And you know, for me, like I said, we've grown and matured, and not like we're anywhere near perfect or anything. We are like so far away from that. But just as we experience life together, initially it started off, hey, yeah, we're Christians, we believe in God, and we're married, but we focused on each other so much. And you know, being in a Christian marriage for us was going to church together, or going to Sunday school together, or you know, helping out with youth together. And that was sort of how our Christian marriage was like. But our focus was on each other and doing these things together, not on how we're doing it for God, and our marriage is part of that. And it's not follow each other, it's follow God
with each other.
And that's sort of the shift that's happened with us recently, I guess. And
and then also just like maturing in our faith, right? And then reading the word and getting closer to God in that way kind of obviously changes your heart. So yeah.
That being a recent kind of change, how has that changed the dynamic then between you two?
It's insane.
Wow.
Like just I'll speak for myself. Just like just thinking of things in an eternal perspective. If we fight, or if we have an argument, or even if just like everyday serving, just having my mindset focused on I'm serving God, I'm glorifying God through this. So even if we have like just like something so silly that probably would have bothered me before, like sometimes it still bothers me, but like Caleb's taking a nap during the day. Before I would like be really upset about that, and that makes me sound really bad. But now it's just kind of like
I take a lot of naps.
now it's just kind of like, okay, let's shift your perspective. Does this really matter? How can my attitude towards Caleb be glorifying to Christ? Yeah,
That's cool.
and it's not easy.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely has been a good shift. Like I said, like Steph was saying, like whenever we fight or anything, a big part is, for me, the big shift is the lack of selfishness. But I guess the other word would be humility. Just understanding humility in a relationship has been so, I don't know, eye-opening for both of us too, and it goes both ways. But you know, when you fight, it's like, well, it's what you want and what you desire, and you know, they're doing something wrong. Why can't they do it my way? Or why aren't they doing something I like, or something like that? And it just all becomes about you, or me. And the other person's thinking the exact same thing, and so these fights rage on. But with relationships in light of who God is in our lives, then we're not looking to each other. We're looking at, okay, so what are we arguing about, and how is it in light of who God is, and how it affects our relationship? Then we are able to communicate. That was a big thing I noticed, was just our communication. You know, everyone says, oh, communication is so important in marriage, and it is, and it's such a key thing. And sometimes we communicate on different levels. Because
it's almost like God became the mediator or
Yes.
something.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, because now he's the one we're talking to and connecting with, and then it allows us to communicate with each other, because we're not on our own levels or different places. We're on our level with God, and that's the same. And so that's been something that's been really neat in our communication too. Even so, just the ability to open up. I mean, early in our marriage, we communicated so different. So for me, I would want to settle things right away. So like if we have an argument or something that's upsetting me or upsetting Steph, like, Steph, what's wrong? Tell me about it right now. And we talk about, that's sort of my mentality. But Steph's a little bit opposite. She likes to think about it and process it, and it could take days or weeks.
I think that's a guy thing too. I think guys like try to get things done right away, or like, let's solve the issue right now,
So
right here,
funny,
right now.
because Ariane and I are totally opposite.
Oh, really? Never mind.
I need a day. I'm mostly because I'm doing my PhD, so there's a lot of work that I need to think about, and then I like to kind of compartmentalize things. But Yeah. I figure that I'm kind of different than most guys in that, wanting to get things done right away. Yeah.
Yeah, but that sort of
That's
shifted.
awesome.
We've learned each other how we communicate, but more importantly, then with the perspective of God in it, then it just allows us to talk about these things on a different level.
Cool.
Wow. What made you guys want to read You and Me Forever?
Look, what happened? How did we even get to this? We were like,
I think we came to a point where we realized, at least for me, and this goes later on, but just for me as as a husband, and understanding, for me, I felt my role. I pastor at a church, and I would always just focus on pastoring the church, and I felt that was my call and ministry, and I've spent so much time and energy in it, and this past year I've been going through a lot of thoughts and a lot of thinking about my role and the purpose in life, and God just really revealed to me this past year that my first ministry is not the physical church I'm part of. My first ministry is my church at home, and that's my family. And I'm spending so much time with these other people, investing in them spiritually and that, and yet I'm not doing it at home. And so that really gave me a good wake-up call, and how am I leading my wife and my kids spiritually, whether it's through prayer or, asking questions about how they're doing. And it's sort of, this book came up, and I think both Steph and I were like, oh, we need to do something together. And we started doing it together. And that's sort of been a really good journey, because it's just so easy to get distracted by life.
yeah, I was going to say, like, we've been married almost 9 years. And, like, to be honest with you, this is the first time we're doing something together.
Wow.
Isn't that insane?
Wow.
I think, like, because... like for us, because when we got married, Caleb was really involved in the church. So was I. We were just so focused on ministry, and we kind of took that as our personal devotions almost. Like that was what we were using to draw closer to God. But I think like during the as the years continued and Caleb went to seminary, and then you just get busy serving, we just got lazy. And I think that's the enemy's way to kind of work his way in and destroy marriage. You just become lazy. And then you have thoughts of, you know what, it's okay. I'm doing okay because I'm still serving in the church, and I still go to church on Sundays, and I still pray every once in a while. But I think the main thing is that we got lazy and we weren't on guard, I guess to say. And so, I don't know, it came to a point where for me, I was at like I don't want to say all-time low, but I was not doing very well spiritually. And then it was just a point where, anyway, that's another story. But we kind of just turned around a little bit. And I started reading the Word again and really wanting to grow deeper with Christ. And then, as you get more into the Word, the Holy Spirit comes and works in you. And so I think that's kind of what Caleb was just like, yeah, let's do a book. It's like, okay, yeah, let's do it. Because it was on my mind too. And then he spoke up and said it. So, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's cool how like God put that desire in both your hearts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Came together to, yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well, you guys kind of touched on that already. You're talking about like things that, I guess, kind of annoy you, like little things, and you're talking about like humility is what's needed in communication. So how do you guys face challenges together then? Or what were or are some challenges that you guys currently face now that you are, I guess, more focused on God and serving Him and seeking Him first? How do you guys face those together now?
I think it depends on the challenges, but I think now, just recently, before we would, take time, do the right things, is talk to each other, communicate with each other. But now I think first and foremost, what we do to face these challenges is just to pray about it. If we feel like, frustrated or angry or upset, or we have these emotions, and we know it from each other, whether it's directed at each other or something else in life, I've been trying to be more intentional of just stopping and reminding both me and Steph that about God, that he's in the picture too. Francis Chan, in his book Crazy Love, his first chapter is Stop Praying. I know it's kind of counterintuitive, but the big part of it is oftentimes in life we forget or don't see value in who God is. He becomes too familiar, or he becomes too regular that we forget about him. But this is a God who's so holy, 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 awesome, amazing, that we just need to stop and realize who we're connecting with, who we're talking to, who's in our lives. And so that's why I think to approach challenges is just to stop and just to pray, just to remember that God is present, and then go from there, whether it's talking or communicating or deciding on steps to take and things like that. But I think it points first back to God. And it's hard. It's so easy to get caught up in your emotions. It's so easy to get caught up in the moment that you just go at each other or go at whatever is happening. It's not like we fight at all. But it's easy to get caught up, and by the time it's almost like it makes it 10 times worse, where if you just stopped and looked at someone who is greater and in control, the conversation is just so different that we notice. Yeah.
It's just getting to that that place where you then commune with God.
Yeah.
That's where I'm like, but when I'm caught in a whirlwind of emotions, it just seems impossible sometimes.
Yeah.
But you're right. I do think that certainly, he's the rock in that storm, right? Yeah.
And like, for example, like the other day I was getting frustrated with something, and Caleb said, "Hey, are you okay?" And I just said, "Yeah, I'm fine." And then he said, "Are you okay?" And so then it was kind of like, okay, just kind of refocusing myself, because before I would have just said, I'm fine, and bottled it up, whatever was frustrating me at that point. And then I talked to him after, because at the end of each day we kind of do like a powwow. I don't know. At the end of the day we get together and we talk about our day, and then we do like a prayer.
Yeah.
And so then he was like, I noticed you were getting frustrated. And I said, yeah, I was getting frustrated. And then I said, like, it's just about communicating, right? So I said to Caleb, the next time you see me getting frustrated, I just want to be held accountable. So just say, kind of like, just call me out on it. Just be like totally honest about it. Like, hey, you need to chill, or like refocus what you're doing, or something like that. So I found that that's also something that's helped, I guess, just communicating. Yeah.
I feel like it's hard to get to that point, because then there's so many times where you want to, like, if you could have done it again, like rewind it, and it's like, if I just didn't say that, or if I just kept quiet and kind of like bit my tongue, and then you were mentioning also earlier, it's just like, but what about me? Why couldn't they just like think about this? And already, like, once you start thinking that way, it's just like you're already being selfish, right? Like, why can't they think the way that I'm thinking, or respond the way that I respond? So how do you get to that point where both of you guys have that, I guess, same mentality then? Of course, it's, you guys work at it together and pray together, and
I think like it's a daily struggle, because like we're selfish human beings, and I had a pastor who would say that marriage really blows up our selfishness in our faces, like to show how selfish we are. I think it's just like a daily struggle. Like, again, I'm going to sound so dumb, but the other day Caleb took like a couple of naps, as he should have, because
Still on the naps.
I know, right? Because Goldie was up and Henry was up throughout the night, and so he was really exhausted, and so of course he can have a nap. But my selfish thinking was, I was up in the middle of the night too. I could have a nap, and I'm here, and I have to do this, and blah, blah, blah. And so I had those selfish thoughts during the day, and then I left to go do something, and I was still like holding on to that. And I think at the end of the day, when we come home and then we have a talk and we pray about it, I think that's a good opportunity where we can ask for forgiveness because of the way we acted or whatever, and then just pray about it. So I think it's like a daily thing.
Yeah, I think it's again, it's like, how do we practice our spiritual disciplines? And a big part of it is being with God daily and constantly, and choosing to follow Him in that way, because He does teach humility. He does teach servant attitude throughout the Bible, and that's sort of the attitude. And I think the more we are in Him, like with Him, the more we are reminded to be like Him. So when we get frustrated or when we get upset or selfish, if we spent some time in the Word and had a verse, then that would pop up easier than if it was like, oh, I haven't read my Bible in a month. That wouldn't even cross your mind anymore, right? And it's so just that spiritual discipline of being with Him constantly, I think, is something to work on. I mean, like, I struggle with that, and it's hard, but it's just that desire and that thirst and hunger to know it, because you see how it changes your life. You see how it affects it, just coming to know Christ, and how, not even just in marriage, but in life and how you live. Just having Him as the center, I think.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think just listening from you guys, like, I as one who's entering marriage, I guess what I didn't foresee was perhaps even coming home and, like, after a long day of work and realizing, like, maybe, like, I'm just exhausted, but there's still the church at home to take care of, my wife, future children. And yeah, that's where I feel like, I'd really have to rely on God at that point. Because even now, I come home, I just, like, get so exhausted. And sometimes Ariana will want to go, I don't know, hang out somewhere. And I'm like, okay, sure, but not be completely there or something. And I guess I didn't realize how much that could affect our marriage. But yeah, having Christ always in the center, I think that'll be so necessary when I enter. Yeah.
That's awesome.